All right, hello friends, Jeff here and welcome to Squadron. Welcome to Squadron Facebook Live. As you can tell, we have a special guest here. Well, he's not all that special. He just was the only one who wanted to do this. So,
he actually dragged me into this.
All kidding aside, I have my longtime friend and colleague, Richard Poulsen, in here. Welcome to the show, Richard.
Thank you, Jeff.
And he's going to give his little perspective on the model business and especially on books. So, we all know Richard from the shows, probably, and from work, but also for the ones who don't know, let me ask him to tell a little bit about himself. So, go ahead, Richard.
Originally I hail from Minnesota and lived there until about my mid-teens when my parents decided to pack us up and move us out to California. So ended up finishing high school out there, did a couple years in college. That wasn't going anywhere, so I decided I should jump out of airplanes.
Oh yeah, that's right. You had a significant, like a military career, so tell us a little bit about that.
So anyways, I joined the Army and ended up in the 82nd Airborne Division and spent 6 years in there. And the last duty assignment was in northern Italy, which was great. We did a lot of training with other European troops. Cold War was still going on then, of course. And ended up getting a military out in northern Italy where I was stationed, and went up to southern Germany and got a job washing dishes at a hotel because I wanted to ski. So I became a ski bum for about a year and had a great time, of course, and really didn't want to come back to the US, but you know, I had to get on with my life. So got back, I used the Army College Fund and went to school, got my undergraduate and graduate degrees in history, and I wanted to teach at that point, but I had a hard time trying to find a job teaching because I had no experience.
Okay.
So that's when I got into the hobby industry.
So actually you worked for, I mean most guys know Richard from his years with Tamiya, even before he started here. So how did you end up working for them?
Well, like I said, I was trying to find a teaching job and that wasn't going very well, so I was online searching jobs, and I saw Tamiya, you know, and I couldn't believe it, and there's only one Tamiya that I know, so boy, I got online and shot him an email and told him, I know your product line, I love your models, blah blah blah. And I got an interview, and so after the third interview, they hired me, and I went to work for Tamiya.
How many years did you know?
I was there for 8 years.
8 years, okay. So, what made you decide to move down to Texas and come and work for us?
Well, MMD was one of my accounts while I was at Tamiya, and it was at the Rigta show, which was it's also called the iHobby. It became the iHobby show. So I was visiting my accounts, and MMD was one of my accounts, and at that time Mike McMahon was the CEO, and as I went and had a business meeting with him, and then we went out and had lunch, and during lunch he just said, how would you like to come and work for me? And I thought, you know, this sounds like a good offer, because at the time I was pretty burned out in California. It's expensive, you know, it's crowded,
still
you know.
Yeah.
Yes, it still is.
And all the special people live there.
Now, I have some good friends in California.
Okay.
Anyways.
I'm sure they're special.
So, he made me an offer I couldn't refuse.
I think you started there, that was around the same time that I started there.
Yeah, we started here 2008.
Well, actually, the first year I shacked up with Richard.
Shacked up?
Yeah. Is that supposed to? Anyway, I lodged there.
Yes, you stayed at my place.
Anyway, you're also an avid reader. So where does your interest of books come from?
My parents were both very avid readers, so I guess you learn from them. And the fact too that my father, when I was a child, my father used to read to me a lot in the evenings, which was great. Adventure, Jack London, Call of the Wild, Robert Louis Stevenson, Treasure Island, Sherlock Holmes, all of that stuff. And he was good. He was great at reading, and he would put on the accents, if you know.
Oh, your dad did that?
Yes, my father did that. Yeah, like Call of the Wild, the French Canadian, old that buck. He was, you know, he would get into it. So it opened up a whole new world, you know, for me. So and he was also, he loved history too. So
So what are your favorite kind of literature that you just want to, let's say you go home and you grab a book? What do you read?
It's history, obviously, because I have my degrees in history. So I prefer nonfiction. I mean, I went through a science fiction phase too. But anyways, right now I'm finishing up the trilogy by Rick Atkinson, the Liberation Trilogy. Won Pulitzer Prize. It's wonderful, great. On the U.S. Army, from North Africa all the way through. It's just a great trilogy. If you guys, any of you people out there that love history and haven't read this, you should read it. It's fantastic.
What is it again?
It's the Liberation Trilogy by Rick Atkinson.
I'll look into that.
Publishing is Holt, I believe. Holt is the publisher.
So now, of course, working here, we're exposed to all kind of books and history and all that kind. So what is actually your favorite book line? Because every time we get like a container of books in, me and Richard, it's like two flies on doo-doo just to get to the cart and see what's new. So what is I can't say the other word anymore. But what is your favorite book line? What's the one that when it comes in, which is the one that you look forward to the most as far as the books we carry?
Well, obviously, other than our Squadron books, which are quite good, I like Schiffer books and Casemate are two, and they encompass a huge range too. The Schiffer books, these here, tend to be more about units, and they have great photographs for you people that really like reference material. This one on the 82nd Airborne, which is near and dear to my heart, of course, has it's a great book. Let me see if I can find some books like, you know, images like this, and also for those people too doing research when you're going to do your models and so forth. This one happens to be on U.S. Army Rangers and LRPs in Vietnam. They have great color photographs that show you all the equipment. I mean, it's just great detail, and it's excellent when you know if you're working on kits like that, figures, what have you. For other models, when you're doing,
because basically my next question is this. Which you think is the best value for money as far as if you're a modeler and you want to detail books and all that kind of stuff? What would you recommend for a modeler? Let's say you have a limited budget. What is the best value for money as far as books dealing with models or model building?
Depending on what you're into in models, under the Casemate umbrella, they have these series for aircraft, tanks, and ships. Yeah, I'm gonna. So what these are? Okay, this one's Panther tanks, and here's U.S. and British tank destroyers. Not only do they give a breakdown of the units and a history, they give brief histories. What is really great about these books is in the center, they give profiles in color of various units. So you get a really good idea of what that particular unit looked like in the paint schemes and everything. So it's a great help. And also in the back, they show pictures of different kits from different manufacturers, and they let you know what manufacturers make this particular, like these are Panther tanks. They just give a
comparison.
Yeah, they give a comparison of all the different manufacturers, which is actually really helpful. And they show you other building techniques, and Edward, for instance, Abert, you know, different photo etch and other accessories for the kits. So that's for armor. For aircraft, it's the same thing. And again, besides unit histories, little unit histories and stuff, they give the color profiles. And again, I find these very helpful. Here's this is an ME-109, and here's a Spitfire as well. Of course, in the back there it shows like here's some Airfix kits. So these are great, and for the shipbuilders too. They also have a series for the shipbuilders, and again, They give you great photos of the actual kits, side views. So I really like those. I think for the value, these are great. If you want to do just pictures, we have Images of War. These have great photos. Some of them you've seen, but they managed to dig up other photos that aren't very popular. And there's good text in here too. It has a little bit more history. And then there's
I like that.
Pico. Pico is great. These are just books of photographs. So, and a lot of these you just haven't seen before. And this one happens to be a German tank destroyers. But anyways, these are great, and especially for dioramas. They're excellent photographs.
Yeah, to his point, I got several of this line, and indeed it's a very good and not all that expensive, you know,
No,
for the quality of the books.
And they're hardbound.
It's a hardcover, yeah.
Hardcover too. They're excellent. So, yeah, I would have to say, you know, these as far as model building, and then when it comes to actual history, there are so many publishers out there, you know, just serious history books. I couldn't even begin.
Yeah, you should, if you're really interested, like I said last week, we got a whole truckload of books in, so if you're really interested or you didn't see this, you didn't see the last week's session, you should check our website out because we got all these available, and really we got some good titles in here. Now you just mentioned something about history. Now, how important do you think is history to because it used to be in the old days, I think, like as far as modeling are concerned, in the old days the focus was more on nitpicking of too many rivets, too many, but I see like there's a little kind of a shift taking place that modelers play more or have more focus on history than on anything else. So what do you think, or how do you feel about history related to models? Do you think it's really important that you incorporate history before anything else? Because today's world in the hobby industry is very competitive. So if you really want to excel at an IPMS convention or any convention, you really have to get your doo-doo together. Anyway, what is your perspective on that?
I think kits, again, I guess it depends on what you're going for too. Like if you're in a serious competition, then obviously you know people are gonna nitpick, and they're going to want. Yeah. So if you're portraying a particular tank, you better have everything, your ducks lined up in a row, and you know, really study that individual vehicle, where it was, and you know, make sure it is indeed correct. If you just want to build though for the sake of building and enjoying, and I think there's something to be said for that, then it's not as important to me anyways. I find it's not as important. Now what's fun is to, like when you're doing research, take for instance whatever 21st Panzer Division or whatever, and you want to do a tank, a Panther tank that was in the 21st Panzer Division, you can look and see what's available in pictures, but you don't want to do one that, as there's an actual photograph, then you could do one in the platoon itself, just use a different number, and then you have a little bit more artistic license because there is no photograph. Yeah, there is no photographic evidence, and you can put that pattern on as long as it sort of matches what is in that particular platoon. If you look at other, you know, if you look at other, yeah, and it gives you a little bit more freedom, and then plus people can't. That's wrong. They can't say that.
I never thought about that, but yeah, I actually should have thought about that. But that's right. If you take something, if you stay within the perks of a unit, like from one number to the other, and you pick something that there's no evidence or no pictures, you can practically do whatever you want, as long as you stay in that.
Right. Now, especially mid-war with German armor, especially when they were actually issued the tins of paste, you know, the red, brown, and green, and it was up to the local commander in the area, whatever they cut it with, and then how they applied it, whether it was with a brush, with a spray gun, whatever. I mean, there is in Panzer Colors, which we published so long ago. Bruce Cole, it's great three series. But I remember there's a picture of a Stug in particular in Russia, and on the side skirts, it's this really wild. It's Picasso, and it even and down below he even it's crazy. It's just this crazy camo wavy, and the guy and he even says, obviously this guy was an admirer of Picasso, and it does look like. So I mean, the sky's the limit. You can do whatever you want.
No, that's right. I mean, it's just exciting, especially when those new books come out with new pictures, unpublished pictures. You see a lot more than what we used to, because it used to be.
It's frozen.
Oh, we're frozen. Are we frozen? Or
You're frozen.
I'm not. I don't see any.
are we still frozen?
Yes. If we push finish and start again? Did anything touch it?
No, nothing came up for me.
All right.
Nothing came up over here.
So are we
check my computer.
are we live again? Well, if we're frozen, or if you see, we seem to have a slight
Technical difficulties.
technical difficulty, so we don't know. Maybe we can chit chat a little bit more about the as far as accuracy. Is it still moving?
We have viewers coming in saying that it seems to be working on their end.
Oh, right.
So it looks
Okay.
to be good. While we have an opportunity, while we're a little interrupted, we do have some shout-outs.
Okay.
We have greetings from George Rydell, Mark Saperstein, Thomas Ortiz, William Leet, William Bullock, David Mason. I know a lot of these are our regulars. They're great for tuning in. Patrick, Kale, and Robert, and also Bob says, "Hooah! He was in the 101st
It's
Airborne."
gonna be Bob Altman, I guess.
No,
Bob
Bob was Air Force.
Oh.
Bob Walton he was the Spectre, AC-130 gunner.
Well, anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. We had a little hiccup. That's our common. Every week something happens. Either we upside down, sideways, or nothing works. But that's us.
Never a dull moment.
No,
here
never.
at MMD.
Never a dull moment. So we were talking about the accuracy and all that kind of stuff. So my next question was actually, we talked about how important history is in modeling, but how do you see, in a way, as a modeler, like super detailing? Because it used to be that you bought a kit and you went home and you just put it together in an afternoon and you enjoyed it. Now, since it's more competitive, you always want to add that extra photographs or that extra part, and sometimes it's very stressful because instead of enjoying it, you get all stressed out. So, in your opinion, do you really think that it's necessary? I know some modelers that only care about the paint scheme and to depict the right unit. They really don't want to go into the nitty-gritty of super detailing, but they just want to get the tank or the airplane out there with the correct number and the correct setting. What do you like? You would like to super detail the hell out of it, or would you say, okay, I built for myself, but I just wanted to historically correct with the same thing, but I really don't. As long as it looks good and the paint is right and the numbers are right, that's good enough for me. So, are you a super modeler? Super detailer, or are you just straight out of the box guy?
I pretty much like straight out of the box. Photo etch is just a pain.
I know, but
So-
even now, when you say straight out of the box, the kits are so.
I know. Okay, so that's okay. If you have a grill or something like that, that's easy.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're gonna really start, you have to bend all these tiny little pieces and put them on. And I've already, as I've talked to you before in the past, I complain about super gluing and then it falls off or whatever. It just drives me crazy. So I mean, if the kit is detailed enough as is, if it's just not.
Today's standards is.
And by today's standards, geez, look, besides to me, the Tacom, Meng, Ryfield, those are all, they're great manufacturers and their kits are superb. So, I'll be honest with you, I'm not really into the super detailing, and unless it's absolutely necessary, and like today, most kits nowadays, you really.
Yeah, it's. I'm building the Tamiya Stuk right now at home, and it's hard to. Anything you do is almost overkill. It's. But anyway, now talking about models, what is your main interest as far as is it armor, airplane, ships, cars?
Well, I built a long time, and then when I was younger, I was really a big builder, and I went through phases. So I started off with aircraft. then I got into ships for a while, and now I would have to say armor is my favorite. In aircraft, both my grandfathers were in the First World War, and my mother's father was in the 400th Aero Squadron, so I really actually have a passion for First World War aircraft. I really like those a lot. So
you collect a lot of stuff too, actually, memorabilia and military, actually, interesting.
Yep.
And on top of that, I always thought that I had a lot of books, you know, and Decent Modeler has to some degree, some books, but when you go to Richard's house, I think you have more books than we have here. So, so anyway, you have any idea how many books you have?
Over 2,500 volumes and growing.
I think
easily. I actually have a library at home.
I think you have more books than 2,500. Anyway, yeah. So I guess unless you have something to add on to the people out there as far as modeling, your view on the whole industry, is it? You think, because you hear this, the industry is changing and all that, but for the last year actually, in the last couple of shows I went, I think there is like a little a moment, or not a moment. I feel that there is a little renewal going on. There is a little more interest, and especially with all the kids that are coming out and all the books, something must work, because as far as I'm concerned, if the industry would be in trouble, like they claim, or at least that a lot of people, let's say that 5-6 people die and only one joins us, so eventually we're becoming dinosaurs. But then on the other hand, when you look at the industry in general, when you look at the kit manufacturers, the book publishers, I mean, look what's coming out. So I'm sure that everything is in an updraft. What do you think about that? You see the real thing, or am I just hallucinating here?
Well, gosh, it's hard, but there will always be some kids, especially if their fathers build, that are going to continue on. I mean,
nostalgia kind of.
Yeah, exactly. And then and with the sci-fi, with all the Gundam stuff, the Bandai Gundam, that's a good, at least it gets children interested, and there might be some that would, a segue into actual military kits, we're thinking car kits or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's not like it used to be, like when we were kids, but it looks to me like there might be a little bit more interest than there was, not that long ago. Again, especially with the sci-fi stuff. I mean, there's
but at
no
least
question.
I think the downcline leveled off. I think so, from what I can see and feel. So that's a good thing. And other than that, I think
we do have one question. There's someone who would like to know what are the shows to go to.
Well, the shows to go to. If you never go to a show, or never went to a show, of course there are the little show, the regionals, I mean the small town shows, but there's also the regionals, like when a couple, 2 or 3 states come together and they do one. And usually the IPMS shows are on top of that. And if you say, I just want to go to one show, then you should go to the IPMS Nationals. That's always the biggest show. You have people from all over the world basically come in and attend. All the main manufacturers are there, and they usually have between it all depends on the location, but they usually have between 3,000 and 4,000 models already built, and then you have all the manufacturers, all the accessory cottage, they're all there. So if you really want to go to the show of shows, you should go to the IPMS Nationals. Another hiccup, that's okay, Richard, that's okay.
Live, what are you gonna do?
But again, that's about it, I guess, unless you have anything more to add.
Shows amps too.
Oh yeah, amps, if you're an
amps
armor.
is good, armor guys.
That's for armor.
Yeah. Amps is good.
Yeah, and again, it's out there, just type in model shows, but again, amps is a very good one, and the IPMS Nationals is one of the better ones. And well, now actually we're going to do our raffle, and since we talked about books, of course, our last week's raffle, I got it over here. We're going to raffle off this book for anybody who participated by leaving a comment. Again, you can leave a comment in the comment section either on YouTube or on Facebook. It doesn't have to be during the live session, so you can leave a comment anytime when you watch this, and then you'll be eligible to get into the Squadron bag and win this nice prize. So this today it is the Panzer Campfire and Tiger.
It's a Pico book too.
And it's a Pico book, like
It's
he
good.
said. He likes these things.
These are good.
So all right, since you're here, get your little hand in there.
We'll mix it up here a bit. All
Who
right.
do we have?
Jerry Parker.
Okay, Jerry, if you're watching, Jerry Parker, if you're watching, you won this beautiful book. Please contact our website, contact our help desk, or contact our customer service. Get your address out there, and we'll get the book out to you ASAP. So we were thinking about raffling off. I think I actually forgot to get a raffle prize for next week. So we should just pick a book that you would raffle off today.
One of these.
Yeah, just think which one would be.
This is a good one.
All right, so we're gonna raffle this book off. It's from what is it?
It's Pico again. It's another
Pico, the
Pico.
World War II photo book
Mhm.
on the battlefield. So these are very, very good books. So anyway, put your name in the hat for next week. Leave a comment, please. Again, share this with your friends, share this with your family. I keep mentioning it every week. Spread the word, but share. Subscribe on Facebook, subscribe on Twitter, YouTube and Instagram, and of course check our website out on a daily basis for new stuff, squadron.com. And then other than that, I wish you all, and I'm sure Richard too, we wish you all a very nice weekend, and I hope to see you next week at 12 o'clock Central Time, sharp. Jeffy here and Richard signing off.